For the objective, we know how the swallowing reflex pathway occurs in the body. Next, we know how to measure the reaction time of the subject to sight and touch in experiment 6.2 and 6.3. Other than that, we determine the speed of the stimuli between visual and tactile sensory and compare the visual and tactile sensory pathway with when stimuli occur in the body. For the introduction, reflexes are predictable and an involuntary response to stimulus. The performance of a reflex act are linked to the neural pathway that connect themselves to the central nervous system, brain and also spinal cord. Certain reflexes only involve the spinal cord while most requires the brain to process the stimuli. These are negative feedback circuit that compromise three neurons, afferent neuron, interneuron and also afferent portion. Experiment 6.1, swallowing reflex, was conducted by an individual. The subject was instructed to swallow the saliva in their own mouth cavity and immediately do it again. The subject was spotted to be in a tight spot as he found it hard to swallow for the second time continuously. This is because there is no more saliva in his mouth and his body is also undergoing peristalsis at the same time. Peristalsis in the esophagus is a series of muscle contractions to move the saliva from the throat into the stomach. It needs a relaxation period before allowing the next peristalsis to occur, so it was difficult to swallow twice at one time. Then, the subject was given a glass of water to repeat their previous action. The subject was found to have done it with ease. This shows that water helps the mouth to replace the saliva and acts as a stimulus to stimulate the muscle in the esophagus to work again by swallowing the water and saliva into the stomach. For 6.2 experiment, according to experiment 6.2, reaction time to sight was conducted by two individuals, a subject and an experimenter. Both individuals were required to sit facing each other with a stopwatch in hand. The stopwatch was started simultaneously and the experimenter will randomly stop their own stopwatch. The time difference between the experimenter's times and subject's times was observed and recorded. This was repeated 10 times to get an average time of the subject's reaction time to sight. Based on the data collected, the time lapse of these two individuals are shown to be in a constant increase or decreasing gap. This shows the delay of the neuron signals that was sent from the subject's main peripheral neuron pathway, which is from the eyes, brain, spinal cord, arm and thumb. This shows that focusing on certain stimuli, sight, would decrease the time needed for the neurons to send electrical pathway to respond to its needed task. Discussion for experiment 6.3. In the experiment, reaction time to touch was determined by the subject when the experimenter treads on the subject's foot.
Both subjects were given stopwatches to record the time lapse between the two. Two stopwatches were started simultaneously. The experimenter will need to stop their timer once they tread on the subject's feet, while the subject will have to stop theirs once they feel the touch. The time of both individuals were observed and recorded. This was repeated 10 times to get the average reaction time of the subject to touch. Based on the data obtained, the time lapse increased and decreased due to the neuron pathway of the subject from the feet, back of the brain, spinal cord, shoulder, thumb. The individual's height according to the neuron pathway was recorded as well as speed on impulse transmission. To conclude, spinal reflex control allows your body to react automatically without the effort of thought. The reflex arc is a nerve pathway involved in a reflex action. In your vertebrae, most sensory neurons do not pass straight to the brain but synapse in the spinal cord. It is important that reflexes occur without the need for thinking about them because they are things that happen to your body and forces acting in your body when you move that need to be responded to very quickly. Reflexes allow your body to react in ways that help you to be safe, to stand upright, and to be active.